thank you for being here. And just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm Angelica Lopez with Trivelloni Asset Management, and I have been in the financial services industry for about 16 years. It's been a minute. So I love this industry. I love helping people, and I'm really excited to show you guys what Adam and I have been working on. It's a newer space than what I spent the beginning part of my career in, so I'm excited to share that. And then as far as housekeeping goes, we're not really going to have live questions. You can, on the side group chat over there, either raise your hand if you have a question, or you can send me or Adam a question directly, and that's how we'll be fielding them. So if we don't answer it, we may not stop the flow, we may just answer it in the flow of the conversation, but that's how you can put your questions in. So pop it off to the side in the group chat. If you don't know how to get there, there is a button at the bottom of your screen that says chat. You click that up, it'll bring it up to the, actually it's probably the wrong way for you, to the right side of the screen. So that's how you're gonna be submitting your questions, and then we will also be using it as well if we need to say anything to all of you. Now I am going to hand it over to Adam. So let me bring him. I'm unmuting him. And then I'm actually going to spotlight him. So you guys should only be able to see him. I'm trying to make this as awesome for you guys as an experience as possible. And he will be going over using a screen to show you things. So have at it, Adam.
Good. Thank you for having me. Welcome, everybody. So I'm Adam Senwa. I've been wholesaling 401k products for 20 years, more than 10, frankly. It's kind of a scary number. And what's interesting about that is I tell people I have 20 years of experience, not 1 year of experience 20 times. Hopefully that makes sense. One of the things that is interesting about what I do, my son, who is now 23, when he was 8 years old, he said, "Dad, when you were younger, did you want to be a 401k wholesaler when you grew up?" I said, "No, man. I wanted to be a baseball player and I wanted to be a teacher." And I said, "I don't play baseball, but I teach every single day." And I bring that up because the style of what we're going to talk about today is going to be very academic. And it's going to, sorry, I'm just pressing a few buttons here. And it's going to behave like a classroom. If you guys were at the collab and we were all in front of each other, I'd put you guys in classroom setting, and this is exactly how we would communicate this. And what's interesting about the style of education is that they say this, that the mind doesn't forget what the hands do. So I can tell you stuff, but if I'm telling you something and you're writing stuff down, it might hit home a little bit differently. It's also important to know that what we're going to do today is we are not going to make you Secure Act experts. You don't want to be a Secure Act expert. And I'd argue that with the exception of the people who wrote it, there aren't many people who are Secure Act experts yet. So I'm going to talk about what it is. Then I'm going to talk about why it came about. And then I'm going to talk about, there's many things that the Secure Act goes over, but there's 6 things that I think are very specific to business owners that I want to discuss. That's where we'll start filling in the blanks. And then I'll show you some samples of the Secure Act in action. And then I'll talk about what your biggest competitive advantage is at the end. And then I'll turn it back over to Angelica. So with that being said, what is the Secure Act? A Secure Act is actually an acronym. It's a fancy word acronym for setting every community up for retirement enhancement. The Secure Act. And why now? And I think a lot of it has to do with this. I mean, if you were to put a bumper sticker together and say, what is the bumper sticker connected with the Secure Act? It is this. The government is saying, look, we don't want a lot of people depending on us for their retirement income later on down the line. So how do we help people today save for their retirement? And, we think about the different social programs out there. I just want to give you a quick history of the Social Security program. When it first came out in the 1950s, there was about 20 workers for every one retiree. That's good math. If you're a retiree, it's like, hey, I'm a retiree, I got 20 people putting in the pot. This is good. But let me fast forward to 1990. In 1990, there were 4 workers for every one retiree. That's not good math. You can see the direction it's going now. If you were to say, hey, Adam, what is the number today? The number today is 2. 2 workers for every retiree, and by the year 2032, it's supposed to be gone. And we can see some of the deals that the IRS is making. They're saying, all right, well, Angelica, well, I'll tell you what, if you retire at 65, instead of giving you 100% of what we promised, we're going to give you 75% of it, or not the whole amount. Oh, you want the whole amount? Well, can you just hold off retiring for a few more years? And you can see the kind of deals that the government is making. Oh, you want to retire at 62? Sure, you can retire early. You won't get nearly as much as you would have got if you would have waited. But they see the math too. So at the end of the day, what they're saying is, look, as much as possible, let's find a method, find a machine or something that can help get people to start saving for their own retirement. And they're doing that through employers. And what they see is that a large part of how people save for retirement is through qualified plans, through 401ks. But there's an interesting number out there. 60% of business owners today, and I'm looking at the attendee list here, if you are a business owner and you are not offering your employees a 401k plan, guess what? That's common. 60% of all small businesses do not offer a retirement plan. And that necessarily doesn't work well for today's retirees and what the government sees. So that being said, I'm going to flip over and talk about the Secure Act. And let me go over here and open up this. I'll start here and here. And this is where that handout comes into play. And if you have your handout here, we're just going to go over some of the blanks and how to fill that. There's 6 things we want to go over. Now, again, the Secure Act has a whole bunch of other things available, but I want to make sure that we cover the 6 that I think are most relevant. Okay, so let's take a look at your handout. As we go through this, you'll like I said, get a fair understanding what the Secure Act is speaking to. The first thing it does is this: it expands the tax credit for small business startup plans. Before, it was a maximum of $500, but this is effective December 31st, 2019. And here's what it does. You are going to get the greater of $500, or, check this out, the lesser of $250 for each eligible employee who is not a highly compensated employee, or $5,000. And this credit applies up to 3 years. We'll show you an example of a case that Angelica and I were working on recently, but this is a significant jump. Basically, instead of $1,500 for $500 a year for 3 years, they basically said up to $15,000 for the next 3 years. And what they're trying to do is alleviate the burden of, or just in essence, take away the excuse of, hey, starting with 401k is too expensive. Well, you'll see in the case that Angelica and I worked on that isn't the case. So that is the first thing that it speaks to, tax credits. The second one is this. Well, here's that word again, tax credit for starting auto enrollment. And auto enrollment basically is just that. Hey, you know what? We're automatically going to enroll everybody at 3% unless they opt out. That's where they're going to start at. If you do that, and this is effective December 31st, 2019, get a tax credit of $500, and that is also good for the next 3 years. We'll show you how this works in motion, but you see what the IRS is doing, right? They're just saying, hey, look, let's just throw a little bit of money at it. Let's make it a little bit easier so that for the business owners to offer a 401k. I should point out that this auto enrollment feature, if you are an employer that has less than 100 employees and you already have an existing 401k plan, by simply switching it to an auto enrollment program, you get the $500 tax credit. So something to keep in mind. All right, let me move on. Now, this is an interesting one. This is new, but long-term part-time employees can join plans. This is going to be effective at the end of the year, 12/31/2020. And they've got to meet 1 year service requirement with 1,000-hour rule, or 3 years of consecutive service where the employee completes more than 500 hours. If they meet that, by all accounts, 500 hours typically means a part-time employee, but If they can meet that number 3 years in a row, they're eligible to participate in the plan. Why is this interesting? Because again, we see what the IRS is doing. They're basically saying, hey, part-timers, they're trying to get as many people to save as possible. I don't want to go into too much more detail than that, but that is the end goal of the Secure Act as it pertains to part-time employees. There's some interesting rules pertaining to part-time employees and how plans are tested. I'm not going to go into testing or anything like that, but the fact that they're opening up to part-time employees, very good. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing that it speaks to is this. It eases restrictions on something called multiple employer plans. This is also going to be effective 12/31/2020. And it allows for 2 or more unrelated employers to join a pooled employer plan. And pooled employer plan, the acronym for that's going to be PEP, multiple employer plans, MEPs. You're going to see more of this come about. So what this allows companies to, before you had to say, look, we're an affiliated group, we're connected geographically, or we were related companies. Now it's saying, for example, if you're an association of tool and die shops, great, you can start a multiple employer plan. The IRS has loosened that up so that you don't have to be related employers to pool a plan together to cover more than 2 groups. So just know that this is something that more shape will show itself. Again, you see 12/31/20 being its effective date, but it is something that continues to be talked about specifically for smaller plans. Multiple employer plans and pooled employer plans, you're going to hear more about that. The next ones are pretty interesting. 5 looks like this: expanded safe harbor for plans for in-plan annuities. And that's going to become effective December 31st, 2019. And that is basically saying there is going to be fiduciary protection, safe harbor protection for companies that do offer guaranteed retirement income contracts within their 401k plan. What does this mean? Well, this is getting to one of the other points of what the Secure Act is trying to do, which is basically saying, look, yes, the 401k is meant to help employees save for retirement. I want you to think about the operative word save. Fine. But what we're trying to also do is save enough so you don't run out. And that is why the IRS is saying, if you offer a feature within your 401k plan that allows a person to annuitize their benefits so that they don't ever run out of money, however big or how small amount that is, you're going to be offered fiduciary protection to that. When I get to point 6, you'll see exactly what this means, but this is going to be something more and more prevalent as time goes by. It's one thing to save money. I mean, I've been in front of business owners when I ask them, what is your participation rate? Oh, you know what? We have 100% participation. That's great. Then we ask them, well, what is the deferral rate? How much are people putting away? And they say, well, the average deferral rate is 1% of their check. That really isn't going to do a lot, especially when you see it in the form of what does that mean for retirement income? And so you're going to see more guaranteed retirement income features come about. There are some vendors that offer that now. Not all of them do, but more to come on that. Here's the 6th thing I wanted to share with you. The 401k statements going forward, they all will need to illustrate. Well, let me show you the effective date. That's going to be, it's going to be effective 12 months after the Department of Labor issues guidance on that. Some vendors are already doing it. I'll show you a sample of a statement here shortly that does show that. But it's going to require vendors to show lifetime income disclosures on the employee's 401k statements at least once every 12 months. And it also needs to illustrate, hey, if you keep doing what you're doing, here's what your monthly payment will be. And I think what they're trying to do is remove this version of a surprise policy from the plan. Meaning that if somebody's saying, well, I don't know why I have a shortfall, I've been participating. Well, how much have you been putting away? $5 a month. okay, well, somewhere along the lines, somebody should have showed you what $5 a month would have yielded at retirement if you kept doing that. And that's what this number 6 is about, making sure that it's communicated to the employees of what they're doing and what that means in terms of a monthly income. I'll show you an example of that. These are the 6 important things to know about the Secure Act. I went over them in about 15 minutes. I don't want to gloss over it, but at the same time, like I said, I don't want to the goal of and why Angelica and I doing this is not to make anybody Secure Act experts. It's to let you know that these things exist, and if you are a small business owner, some of this stuff might relate to you. Now, if you are a small business owner on the line and you don't offer a 401k plan, I do want to spend a few minutes talking about a case that Angelica and I were working on last week. Actually, yeah, it was last week, right in the heart of everybody stay home. But we were talking to a business owner, and we basically mapped out what the cost would look like for him to offer a plan to his employees. And it very, very short into our meeting, I realized that I don't know what the right adjective is, cheap, frugal. You know what? He was just very conscious of every penny that he was going to throw at this thing. So that was good. We talked about it. The plan details look like this. Guy had 15 employees, non-highly compensated employees, NHCEs. Remember, those are the ones that get that $250 credit. I believe the threshold is under 115,000, or you can't be an owner or a key employee. And he had 13 of those. So let's go to the tax credit section. 13 times 250 equals 3,250. And I said, well, if we do this, might as well throw auto enroll on there. So we did that. And as I mentioned earlier, that automatic enrollment would yield a $500 tax credit. The total tax credits for the next 3 years equals $3,750. Now, we then take a look at the bottom part there, the out-of-pocket costs for the next 3 years. And here's what those out-of-pocket costs look like. It was going to be $750 for the first year for one-time installation fee, and administrative charges of $1,500 plus a $500 base. And there you go, $2,750 for the first year. And then year 2, 2,000, year 3, 2,000. Well, you see the tax credits here, $3,750. So at the end of the day, the net out-of-pocket cost for him was $0. So I wanted to show this to you because as I sit in front of business owners in my practice, especially for startup plans, very cost conscious. As a matter of fact, there's a phrase that I typically like using. I think all of you can relate to this. First time buyers are cost conscious. Second time buyers are competency conscious, if that makes sense. And so it didn't surprise me that this is his very first 401k plan, small business owner, never had one before, and cost was an issue. In this particular case, we showed that this is why the Secure Act was designed the way it does. Now, let me take these tax credits away and know that prior to the Secure Act, that tax credit column of $3,750 would not be that. It would be $500, $500, $500. So there would be some net out-of-pocket cost prior to the Secure Act. But with the Secure Act in place, it does, in this particular case, wipe out that out-of-pocket cost and make the net out-of-pocket cost $0. Okay, so that's the Secure Act, and that's an example of the tax credits in action. Now, items 5 and 6, specifically item 6 that I mentioned earlier, spoke to the employees' 401k statements showing what kind of monthly income they would receive if they keep doing what they're doing. And this is a sample of a 401k statement. It's going to zoom it out. Now I'm going to zoom back in. Here we are. And I think all 401k statements, and I've been saying this since the dawn of time, every single 401k statement should answer these three questions. How much do I have? How am I doing in terms of performance? And am I on track? In other words, if I keep doing what I'm doing, what will happen, or what generally will happen? Something directionally accurate. And so when you're taking a look at the statement on your screen, we show that, hey, look, based upon the assumptions above, you're going to have a lump sum of around $61,000 at retirement. And when you get to retirement, you're going to get a monthly benefit of, and this doesn't include Social Security, but about $350. Is that good? I don't know. Is that bad? I don't know. But at least it prompts, at least it's supposed to prompt some sort of thought to say, hey, maybe I should put a little bit more. Now, this, if you take a look at the demographics here, right, you got somebody who's age 61 with $53,000 in their account. This demographic might be different. If this was a 31-year-old, we might see a different number. But this is exactly what item number 6 is supposed to show. For anybody on the line that does have a 401k in place for your employees, you might want to see if this number shows up on their 401k statements. It's not required yet, but most vendors do. I've seen a few that don't, but this arguably is an important number. Remember, at the heart of the Secure Act, it's to change the perception of what the 401k is for. It isn't just to save money, it's to make sure you now don't run out of money, hence all the incentives, hence this Secure Act. I want to show you one other thing before I turn it back over to Angelica, but this is what I'm showing you here, a sample of what item number 6 was about on the worksheet. I want to show you something that actually takes it a little bit further. And this is something that if you do offer a 401k plan to your employees, one of the things that Angelica and I like asking is this: how do you know if your participants are using the plan right? The 401k is a tool. When it's used properly, good things happen. If it's not, results may vary. This is a good example of a report that we can provide a participant to say, look, you're putting away 3% of your check. And if you take a look at the graph there, if you keep doing that, you're going to run out of money around 10 years in retirement. To fill that gap, you need to put in about 7.4%. And here's a fun number. This is how it'll affect your check. Huh, never saw that. And what we end up seeing is that participants, once you show them what they, I don't know how many golfers we have on the line, but when you show somebody what club to put in your hand, they'll probably use it. And that's what we typically see here. Now, the crazy thing about this is somebody could say, hey, Adam, going from 3% to 7.4 might be kind of steep. Yeah, a change in take home by about $150, that's a little rough. We can show them, well, if you just increase it by 1%, it affects your check by $30 a month. 2%, and you see the rest of the numbers there. I think this is the direction of how employee communication should go for people who use the 401ks. It isn't just showing how much you have or how are you doing. It's going to be, are you on track? Are you satisfied with that projected monthly income? And if you were to make changes, what effect would that have on your check? And when we go through this exercise, we typically see participants do something, either increase the amount they're putting in, roll money over from a former employer's 401k into the plan, and take advantage of it that way. Okay, so I wanted to show you this example. I wanted to show you a sample of that 401k statement. The tax credits in action. I flew right through these 6 things. Hopefully you had a chance to fill out the worksheet accordingly. The worksheet is really designed to help you have a cursory understanding of, if you were to see the Secure Act, it's about half an inch thick and it's beefy and it's written in a weird language. You now officially know probably the most important things you need to know about the Secure Act as it pertains to business owners. Earlier, I mentioned, hey, your number one competitive advantage. I will tell you what that is. It's having somebody like Angelica available to walk you through, let me just go back over here. It's to have somebody like Angelica walk you through these things. She'll also tell you, she's not going to make you a secure expert, but she will talk to you about how relevant it is to your practice and what parts of it are and what parts of it aren't. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Angelica, I'm going to flip it back over to you. If anybody has any questions, by all means, raise your hand or type something in the chat area. Angelica, back to you.
Now's the time for any questions and answers. If you didn't ask questions during it, is there anything that you guys have? If you do, you want to send them private message to either me or Adam. So if you have some, send them. We will be fielding them. While we're waiting to see if anybody's typing anything, I did want to introduce a lady that we are working with, Adam out Clemens, in the same office building as I am. Her name is Deanna Wilmarth. She's with BW Human Resources Consulting, and I'm going to bring her to video. So,
okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. This is very odd for me holding the computer. My name is Deanna. I'm with BWHR. I'm the president of the company, and we provide human resource solutions in a lot of different venues. So we can do a full outsource solution and help your company with day-to-day HR issues and a retainer, or we can help with projects such as compensation projects or things of those nature. What was really cool, I thought, about this that you guys did today is I think this is a huge helper for retention purposes. So I urge businesses really to take a look at this, and this is something that we'll be kind of peddling out to our businesses as well, because I think it's a no-brainer from a cost perspective, and I think it's really going to help employees stay at businesses. So I thought, what a great thing for retention is we partner with Angelica and Adam to do a lot of different things with businesses. You know, a lot of our issues right now are hiring good people as we get out of this crisis, hopefully, and then really retaining good people. And I think this is a huge retention thing for all businesses. So it's something that we're going to be partnering on moving forward. But yeah, I mean, I think from an HR perspective, we certainly can help you with anything HR. With the crazy crisis now, we're doing a lot of leave management, a lot of help with figuring out how to manage employees remotely and helping to run duplicate payrolls and get people still moving in the economy today with the COVID crisis. So I appreciate the introduction, Angelica, and I love the partnership that we have here together with the three of us. I'm looking forward to the future. And if anybody needs anything during this time or beyond from an HR perspective, Angelica will have my information, and we can send it out after, and anyone can give me a call or shoot me an email. So thanks for the introduction.
But let me just quickly say that Deanna did say something very interesting, and the word she used were redundancies. Now, where I just talked about the 401k, that's a small scope of what business owners actually go through. And Deanna and I have talked about in the past. One of the things that most business owners don't realize, and Deanna, chime in when you think it makes sense, but many business owners don't know what redundancies exist under their current watch. And sometimes they need that pointed out to them. So if you if you're a business owner on this line right now and you just want somebody to take a look, hey, are there any redundancies in my practice? I think Deanna can help.
that's it. We are all done. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing from you and working together in whatever capacity that we do. So thank you.